What are some challenges that you might face when researching in France?
Great. So, like I mentioned, you might run into a few different languages. Some of the other challenges that you may face, depending on the population that you're working with, right? So, if you are looking for a Huguenot ancestor who was a Protestant refugee from France, then it might be challenging to pinpoint the exact place of their origin during that early time frame, right? So those are some of the challenges that you might face. Increasingly, or a lot of the challenges that I face in the work that I do with French genealogy are instances where people are trying to identify a biological ancestor.
Okay.
They want to use DNA, but unfortunately DNA testing in France itself is illegal. And so it can be challenging to try and utilize and leverage DNA evidence to draw these connections. You often, I mean, there still are some people in France who perform DNA testing, but increasingly what we're dealing with are descendants of migrants from France who also left France and who also came to other regions where DNA testing is more readily available. So that is a challenge that we sometimes face. And another challenge is, I wouldn't say that I too often run into challenges of record destruction, right?
That's good.
The records are great and they're well preserved, and there's not a ton of instances where we do those things. But the other challenge is once you get to the earliest generation that you can with parish registers and civil registration, typically the early 1600s, maybe the late 1600s to early 1700s, sometime in that time frame, what's the next step? How do we go beyond that? And the challenge there is then we have to go into, the next strategy is to go into notarial records, so last wills and testaments, land transactions, marriage contracts, and trying to reconstruct relationships that way. And there's so much material that we then have to comb through to try and find what's pertinent, that we can find those answers to reconstruct those family relationships.
I think that's a good challenge, though, because it's not that there's nothing to research. It's that there's so much to research. You might just do this forever.
Yeah, we might have to work on it for a while.
So it's a little bit of a rabbit hole, but it's okay. It's a good rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a good rabbit hole to be in.
I like that.